Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. I'm Coach Gino, and alongside is super coach, Coach Ken. How's it going, Ken?
Keeping it real, trying to keep America safe for capitalism, which, as you all know, is not easy.
Not in these days, that's for sure.
Not in these days of the people who want to spend other people's money.
Yes.
Yes, and not earn it. But remember, everyone out there, all value is earned. All value is earned.
Yep, for real. All right, super coach. So today we want to talk about stuck and bored. And, when we think about a great deal of our clients, a lot of them, they come to us when they get stuck and bored, right? And they get to that point in their business that what they were doing before is not working, and they get into that place where maybe they start even to hit a plateau. So let's talk about that. So, Coach, what's that? Where's that phenomena? How does it come about for our advisors out there?
There's something that's interesting out there is that what happens when you begin to make a pretty good living? You're making $450,000 a year, $550, $650, $750, $350,000. It's a lot of money. And you're getting a little bored because people keep coming in saying, hey, where's my check? What's the market doing? Like, can I retire? You keep hearing a lot of the same stuff. And so it can get a little bit boring, if you will. But the strange part is you really don't have anybody to talk to. Like, how can you complain to someone that you're bored and you're making a lot of money in a year? But the bad part about being bored with your business is that you know that you're leaving a lot on the table, that you know that there's a lot more potential for you. But it begets an interesting question. Why grow it if you're not excited about it? And stuck too. Sometimes not only bored, but can you also be stuck in the business where you're just feeling overwhelmed, like you can't get, it's like a whirlwind every day and you don't know which way is up, and client calls, meetings, market gyrations, staff going nutty, staff not showing up, staff bringing a birthday cake to work and it's not even their birthday and they eat the whole thing and put crumbs all over your desk, which drives you nuts. Is that sometimes there's this level of just simply overwhelm and you really don't know how to bring it to the next level. Like, especially if you've listened to our past podcasts about the 4 phases of a financial advisor's practice. If you don't know what phase you're in, it's really easy to get stuck because stuff can get overwhelming. And for all of you listening out there, if you're not in financial services, it's not easy. It is not an easy profession. There's a lot of things going on all the time. Excuse me.
So, Ken, it almost, even though it wasn't a lot of fun, but survival mode actually was a place where at least you knew what you needed to do. You had the energy, and you put forth the activities to make it happen because you knew exactly where you were going. You had a goal in mind. You were trying to get to a certain point. And interestingly enough, even though you might have not have been paying the bills, or at least paying the bills well, you at least had a goal in mind every day and you knew how to grow to where you needed to get to because it was all about adding clients.
Yeah, spot on, or gathering assets.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there is a cool thing about survival mode is that you don't have to think much, right? Like if I'm a fan of Alone. If you've ever watched that, Alone, it's where they just send somebody out in the wilderness with nothing and they have to survive for an extended amount of time. It's a competition. And for some strange reason, I just love watching those shows. Or the people who move to Alaska and they're like, man, I have the greatest freedom ever. I'm in Alaska. And they're wrestling bears and trying to find food because the only thing that they have to focus on is survival, right? There is no leisure. There is no time to think. You just got to keep everything going so that you can survive. So when you're in that survival mode, literally you don't have to think. You just have to do. But once you start making some money, or once you start making a lot of money, then you can either have time, or the survival mode just sort of, you burn out from it. You're like, my God, this is so much stuff to do all of the time. How long can I continue this without something breaking?
Yep. And then comes that place where you're trying to both maybe add more assets through maybe new clients or even your existing clients, but then you're also that idea of having to service and administer the business. You want to talk a little bit about that and that balancing act there?
I mean, that's a great conflict that happens. Like in survival mode, you just need to grow the business. Then what
Right.
happens when you grow it? Once it's grown, now you got to manage it. Now comes this internal conflict. I want to grow the business, but I want to manage the business. Now, the interesting thing about managing a business, it is often reactive. A thing about growing the business, it's proactive. But unless you're actively scheduling and working your calendar, guess what takes over? The reactive stuff or the randomness. So the proactive stuff, which often doesn't bear fruit the first time you touch it, gets pushed to the back burner somewhere. And that leads to a level of frustration and a level of plateau. Like, how do you effectively manage a business and grow a business at the same time? Now, once again, I'm going to loop back to the 4 stages of a financial advisor's practice. You got to know what stage you're at, because the stage will help you define what to do next. Do you need to staff up? Do you need to cull the book? Do you really need to get clear on what your niche is and go niche weird and go really deep in that particular niche? Because it's in those arenas that create an opportunity for growth. And also this thing about bored, if you are really bored with your business, and once again, you got to tell the truth, and most people won't tell the truth to other people. It's one of the benefits of having a coach, is you begin to tell the truth to them. And if you tell the truth, the reason why you're bored with your business is, I'm going to say this with love, is because you're boring. You can't be bored in your business without you being boring. I know some of you probably got offended by that. I'm not boring. Okay, what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? How are you actively cultivating your business? Are you cultivating your business in a way that's in alignment with you? Or are you doing seminars in the library basement on Social Security, or having wholesalers pay for a plate licking event? And there's nothing wrong with plate licking, okay, especially if you're into it. But if you're not into it, that can get a little bit boring. Or it doesn't happen because you're more interested in all the bombs going off at the office, or the whirlwind is taking over and you don't have time to do those things. It's sort of
Yeah.
a conundrum.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the whole idea between growing the business and servicing, right? Is think about it as you shift over more and more to service. You go into the office every day, you're doing the same routine over and over again, staring at your computer screen, doing service, where you're away from the getting out of the office and the rainmaking part, where you're actually going to proactive, to your point earlier, go out and proactively get the business. You're probably out of the office more now. You're more most likely stuck in front of your computer screen, and now you're feeling stuck and bored because you don't even know how to get back out of the office, because now you're in a place of, you feel like service. And like you like to say, when you do service and you keep doing it and you do more of it, you'll just get more of it.
Give you attention to get more. Or even if you're doing annual reviews and you're actually having client meetings in the office, there's nothing wrong with that. But the more time you spend in the office, the more time you're going to spend in the office.
Yep.
Like, one of our big principles is what you give attention to, you get more of. And another fascinating thing, I want to get a little bit deep here, is that what is ever in front of you, wherever you are, what is ever in front of you, just like if you're watching us or listening to us, whatever is in front of you is seeping into your future. Okay, just think about that. So now, us, as in getting results, that's a really good thing to be seeping into your future, because the more it seeps, the more money you're going to make, the more fun you're going to have. But then there are other things that you might be in front of right now, like Call of Honor, not Call of Duty. I can't even remember the name anymore, right? A video game. Not
Yep.
that many of you are playing video games, but interesting thing, once you start playing a video game, it starts to seep into your future. You start thinking about it. Like, I had this horrible experience the other day, and this has really brought it home for me about this idea of what you give attention to seeps into your future. And that horrible experience that I had is I watched the presidential debate, and the damn thing seeped into my next day. I started actually thinking about it and worrying about it. And I'm like, oh my God, why am I so feel like I need to throw up? And I'm like, oh, I watched the debate. And I was like, why the hell did I do that? See, it was a moment of inadvertence, or I kind of wanted to be entertained, but entertainment can go both ways, to disgust and joy. Unfortunately, it went to disgust, and it seeped into my future.
Yep. Yep. So, Super Coach, obviously getting stuck and bored can lead to something we like to call as a plateau. And I think plateaus out there aren't necessarily new to anyone, but what does that look like for an advisor? And then let's talk about, all right, well, what are some opportunities or some ways to break out of that plateau?
Okay, so if you've hit a plateau in your business, just remember when you started in the business, your business used to grow by 20, 30, 40% a year. There's some massive upticks in business. Now you could be excited that you had a 2 or 3% growth rate, all right? Or you had a negative 2 or 3, or your business is relatively stuck. Look at your production for the last 3 to 5 years. If it is in the same range, plus or minus 10%, you've hit a plateau, right? A, you don't know where you are in the 4 phases. B, you're complacent at some side, or it's comfortable. And once again, if you're making $500,000 a year, that is a lot of money.
It
Right?
is.
There is no doubt that is a lot of money, and you're crushing it, and you have more money than everybody you went to high school with, or most of the people, except those that became doctors, right? But if you want to crush the doctors, you have to do something different. See, and once again, it's in the different. Like what is the thing to do? Now, I can tell you what to do now. Strong probability you won't do it because there's many other things in the way of it. But a very simple thing, if you want to grow your business, is focus on who is in your first class cabin. Do you have a first class cabin of your business? Okay, and are you running a unique client service model for your first class cabin? And now many of you going, oh, yes, I do. I treat my top 40, my top 50, my top 100 with white glove service. Yeah, no, that's not how it works, right? There's a distinction called the law of unequal distribution. I don't think we've done a podcast about that yet, but at some point we will. And if you have a first class cabin with 100 people in it, I don't even know what to say. It's what
And
is
you
that called?
actually pay enough attention to do that. Like that's
Right, yeah,
that's a lot. That's
right, and
spreading the peanut butter really thin.
Yeah, and just another little quick quip. If you do have 100 people in your first class cabin, guess what? All 100 don't pay you equally. As a matter of fact, you will see a steep drop off in pay probably after number 12. Right? Remember, Jesus had 12 disciples and he changed the world. Imagine if you did. Okay, all right, so right? Here's a fun one. I had a conversation with a client the other day. He's like, I have 40 people in my top 40. That's all I care about. And I'm just like, really? You know what's a really good idea for your top people? And you can all choose to steal this, is go have birthday dinners. Invite them out for their birthday, take them out for their birthday, have them invite people, etc. And he's like, yeah, that's a really great idea. And I said, I know it is. Now think about this. 40 birthday dinners in a year. So 40 is close to 50. And how many days, how many weeks in the year? Oh, 52. Oh, so that means almost every week you're going to be like, hey, happy birthday. Let's blow out my candles. Yay. Now, tell yourself the truth. Are you going to be excited about that? Can you imagine doing 40 birthday parties that you have to be excited for? God, when our kids were young, you'd have more than 4. You're like, Jesus, how many more of these parties do we have to go to?
Yep.
You see, many good ideas get squished because your scope is too large, because you really don't have a first class cabin, right? If you want to make a lot of money, identify, cultivate, and replicate that first class cabin, but that requires your attention. Remember what I said earlier in this call. What you pay attention to, not only do you get more of, but they seep into your future. Like what clients and prospects do you want seeping into your future? And I use that word specifically because it's a seep. It's slow, right? There's slowness to it. There's no magic fairy dust or magic wand and everything goes poof. Everything changes in a day or two. This stuff takes time. Okay. And if you're not excited about your business and excited about your future, the hard truth is that's not good for your business and that's not good for you.
Yeah. Yep. Coach, I think it's important to point out too that let's say they are making $500,000 a year and they're plateaued. It isn't just about necessarily making more money. That might not be your goal. It might be, well, I'm not enjoying my life. I'm doing all this hard work. I'm making a lot of money, but I'm not even spending the time doing the things that I enjoy or I'm not passionate about. So part of breaking a plateau could also be outside of your business.
Yes.
right?
Yes. When you're in alignment, you go further, faster, less fuel. We say that all the time. So, okay, let's make believe it is not about making money. Okay. So you're making a good amount of money, but yet your business is dominating you. Your business owns you instead of you owning the business. If your business owns you, if your business has got its foot on your neck, how excited are you going to be to grow it? You're not. Who
Mm-mm.
wants a heavier boot on their head or on their neck?
That's face to the
Nobody.
grindstone again.
Right, face to the grindstone. But I don't think if we've had this conversation yet, but complex systems, right? Your business and you are a complex system. If we go into systems analysis or complexity theory, yeah, and no, I'm not that smart, but sometimes I can sound that smart, right? If we go into complexity theory, objects or systems will reach a certain state of equilibrium, right? So if you're making $500,000 a year, your system has reached a certain state of equilibrium. It's $500,000 a year. Now, many of you, or all of you, are really good people. You're like, Ken, I really don't need to make any more money. I'm not. It's for what? Okay. A, you should, because the more money you make, the more value you provide, and the safer you keep America for capitalism. But that's another side conversation. Okay. But let's get back to this complex system concept. Okay. How do we involve? Like, how do we get a complex system to evolve to its next level of complexity?
Hmm.
Right. The distinction is evolution happens from an adaptive response to changes in the environment. You need an adaptive response or a catalyst. Things change because they have to. Now, most of the time in financial services, the catalyst is production, right? You have to change your behavior if you want to go from $500,000 to $1 million in production. It requires a change of behavior. And that's the common motivator is more money, or that's what most people do the lip service about. But in reality, right, I'll never forget, I was doing a presentation in Connecticut many, many moons ago, and I was like, who wants to grow their business? Who wants to get to the next level? And no one raised their hand. I'm like, what the hell? What is going on? I thought this is the East Coast. Come on. I thought you were all piranhas. Get to that next level. You're sharks. And they're like, nah, I can't. I want more time. I
Hmm.
want more time. But here's a fascinating thing. Time is also a catalyst. Creating more time for yourself also acts as a catalyst for that business. Now, the great irony is, which sometimes is hard to wrap our heads around, is that if you create more time for yourself, your business will actually grow. Your business will get more profitable. Why? Because you're in alignment with you, right? It's a
Yep.
fascinating thing. It's the catalyst that matters. And if we have the right catalyst, time or money, the whole system has to adapt or evolve to its next level of complexity, right? Because it forces you to make decisions and hard choices, right? And every time that we've had someone get more and more in alignment with themselves, they're spending more time with their kids, they're going to their mountain house, they're going to their lake house, they learn how to fly an airplane,
Getting in shape, right? Like,
getting fit,
yep.
okay? Their business takes off. Why? Because you are fundamentally to your business. Without you, your business does not exist. Remember, the game of business can never be won, it's only played. But if we enhance the player, the game itself improves.
I was
Right?
just going to go there, right? Is if we can get you playing at optimal level, guess what? All of a sudden, the business and the game improves when you're really at your best.
Yeah,
And I really
there's no
believe that, especially when you're whatever it is, you're eating well, you're exercising, you're really getting in great shape, great relationships at home, you're doing, what if you're a golfer, you're playing a good amount of golf, whatever it is, that just absolutely triggers growth in the business. It almost forces it to do that.
correct. Is that the individual evolves. There's a
Right.
thing called plasticity or neuroplasticity in your brain. So the more skills you develop, or as you're exercising those new connections, not only do you become smarter, but new connections get formed so you can see things that are normally not seen. And the hard truth is, if you truly are a rainmaker, which you are, right, you have the ability to get people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. If you're on the golf course with other human beings, an amazing thing is going to happen. You're going to connect with them. You're going to
Right.
hear opportunities to be of service. So that's one of the things not to be afraid of is getting in alignment with self. Like your business will be right. If once again, if you're making over $500,000 a year, you know what you're doing. right? There's beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know what you're doing. You're good at what you do. But how do you get to that next level? Which is simply about
Yep.
being in alignment with self. And if
Yep.
you're bored, very dangerous. Or if you're thinking about retiring, you're like, man, I can't wait to get out of the business because that's when I'm really going to live my life. But don't be gunning for retirement. Build your business so that you love it. Why would you ever retire from something that you love?
Right.
And I had this conversation with one of my clients the other day. Is like, is the world a better place if the Picassos and the great artists of the world retire? Stop. If they stop using their unique ability.
Yeah. I almost see that there's two ways to retire. There's one, you're retiring to get away from something, or there's retirement to go closer to something, right? And when you're doing it because you're trying to get away from the business, then that probably tells you that we got to work on your business and get that
That's
feeling good. So you're really enjoying it. So you don't care about going anywhere to retire. That is your retirement, that you're
right. Or
having fun doing it.
right, you build your business so that it works for you.
Yeah.
Just like if someone says, "Do you really like to play golf?" Yeah, I love to play golf, and I think I'm going to retire from it this year. Begets an interesting question. Well, why is that? I
Why?
thought you really
Yeah.
liked to play. It's just time for me to retire. Well, why? Because you're physically or mentally unable? No, but that's what all the cool kids are doing at 62 or 65. They're just pulling the ripcord and getting out.
Yeah.
Think, grasshoppers, think.
No doubt. I don't even believe in retirement. I think that's a creation of whatever it is to get our tax money from our 401k plans and all that other stuff.
Could be a creation by the financial service industry itself, right?
Yes.
Didn't exist before the 1900s. There was no
Yeah,
such thing
like
as retirement.
interesting, right? So that's
For,
why I don't believe in it. It's been
for
created.
most of human history, retirement did not exist. You
But
worked
they
until
sell
you
us on it all the
died.
time. Yeah.
Golden
Yeah.
years.
Yes,
Golden years.
indeed. Yeah. So, Coach, anything else around stuck and bored or even plateau as we close out our episode today?
When you're plateauing or when you're stuck, it doesn't feel good. You're not calling you know that you're not calling forth your potential. Right? Some people call it your comfort zone. They're in the comfort zone or whatever that conversation is. But the idea really is to be engaged in your business. Like, are you excited about your business? Does your business call you forth? Or is there a level of drudgery? Or is there a level of, oh my God, it's Monday morning, and just, oh, you get the Mondays, and then you get the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, the Thursdays, a Friday, that's exciting because now you can go get to live your life. Those are all bad markers. And the hard truth is it doesn't have to be that way. Now, once again, there's no magic fairy wand or magic fairy dust. It takes work. And it takes much more than a single podcast, or even if you listen to every single one of our podcasts, which is awesome, and you read the books and you read all our articles, still awesome stuff. It'll put you further down the path. But really, you got to stay engaged in a conversation, and it happens over time. And the longer you're committed to the conversation, the better the results.
And I would add that it's not even something that can get done in 1, 2, 3, 4 coaching calls. It takes time to build that and get there. And I'll just put a plug in that if you are feeling the Mondays, the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, the Thursdays, any of that, you absolutely need to reach out to us. You need to at least engage us, complete our assessment, learn more about where you're at, and see how we might be of service to you, because this is our bread and butter. This is what we help people with. Mostly is getting people out of that stuck and bored and plateau, of course. And for others, with Super Coach, it's taking, elite producers and making even elitier, to steal Coach Ken's term. But, that's what we're here for. And, the reason why we did this episode is if you're feeling this and you're resonating with it, take action, reach out.
Yeah, reach out, complete that assessment, and no matter what, we can have more we can send you additional podcasts. See, what's beautiful is the more that you interact with us, the more that we're going to know you, and the more that we can know you, the more we can get you the particular content that's going to be most impactful for you, even if you do not engage us with coaching, right? Because you may not engage us now, but in the future, you probably will, because shit works. It really
No
does.
doubt. No doubt. Awesome. All right,
We're trying,
super coach. Was that you guys say something?
I was going to start doing my retirement concept. We're trying to match the letters. RET.
Let's put that one away. You know what we'll do is we'll do an
Clips.
explicit episode in the future
Explicit.
where we'll have
Hold
to
on.
put that this is explicit, and we'll have to put all the
War,
disclosures
18,
at the beginning
18
of
and
the
over. Yeah, like
yeah. So
X rated.
let me prep the production of that one so that we can do that right, and so that we don't destroy us
See,
and
the truth shall set you free.
yes, that is
Yes.
true. That is true. All right, Super Coach, thank you very much for talking about being stuck and bored. And again, for those of you stuck and bored in a plateau, hopefully this episode was of value to you. So to our listeners, if you enjoyed the podcast today and you got value from it, please be sure to share and follow our podcast. Hit the like button and or give us a rating. And again, we can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and gettingresultsinc.com. You can also check out our videos on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. Check our show notes for the link for that. So until next time, tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.